David never expected his life to change when he ordered a cleaning service online. He was a successful app developer who worked from his big house in the hills. Most days, he barely left his home office, surviving on takeout food and energy drinks. The place was getting messy, and he was tired of living like a college student. He found this new service called Intergalactic Home Solutions on a weird website. The name seemed like a joke, but the reviews were amazing. People said their cleaners were unlike anyone they'd ever hired. The price was reasonable, so David clicked book now without thinking much about it. 3 days later, his doorbell rang. At exactly 9 in the morning, David shuffled to the door in his pajamas and old slippers, expecting to see someone with a bucket and mop. Instead, he froze when he opened the door. The woman standing there looked almost human, but something was definitely different. Her hair was the most beautiful silver color he'd ever seen, not gray like an old person, but actually metallic silver that seemed to catch light from nowhere. Her ears had slight points at the top, and when she smiled, her teeth were perfectly white. But it was her eyes that really got his attention. They were a deep purple color that seemed to glow softly. "Good morning," she said, in a voice that sounded like music. "I am Zara from Intergalactic Home Solutions. You requested our premium cleaning service." David blinked several times, wondering if he was still dreaming. Yeah, I did. But I thought that was just a funny company name." Zara tilted her head slightly, looking confused. "Funny? We are quite serious about our work. May I come in to assess your home's energy patterns?" Still in shock, David stepped aside and watched as Zara walked into his house. She moved with perfect grace, like she was floating instead of walking. She carried a small silver bag that seemed too tiny to hold any cleaning supplies. "Your home has very chaotic energy," Zara said, looking around the messy living room. Empty pizza boxes were stacked on the coffee table, and clothes were scattered everywhere. "This will require deep harmonization." "Harmonization?" David asked, following her as she walked through his house. "Yes, I must align your living space with proper energy flow. It affects your health and productivity." She paused in front of his broken smart TV that had been flickering for weeks. "This device is causing electromagnetic disruption." Before David could explain that he'd been meaning to call a repair guy, Zara simply placed her hand on the TV screen. Her palm began to glow with a soft blue light, and suddenly the TV worked perfectly again. David's mouth fell open. "How did you do that?" "Standard energy correction," Zara replied casually, as if fixing electronics with glowing hands was completely normal. "Your kitchen needs attention as well." In the kitchen, she looked at his nearly empty refrigerator and shook her head sadly. "Your nutrition is very poor. This explains the low energy I sense from you." "I mostly eat delivery food," David admitted, feeling embarrassed. "That ends today," Zara said firmly. She opened her small silver bag and began pulling out containers. That seemed way too big to fit inside. "I will prepare proper meals that match your biological needs." "Wait, how do you know my biological needs?" Zara paused, looking at him with those strange purple eyes. "I can sense these things. It is part of my training." For the next several hours, David watched in amazement as Zara transformed his house. She didn't use normal cleaning supplies. Instead, she would touch surfaces and they would become spotless. She organized his office by somehow knowing exactly how he liked things arranged, even though he'd never told her. When she cooked lunch, the smell was incredible, and when he tasted it, the food was exactly what he'd been craving without realizing it. "This is impossible," David said, watching her make his computer run faster just by placing her hands on the keyboard. "What are you exactly?" Zara looked uncomfortable for a moment. "I am from a place called Lyria. We specialize in home management and energy work. My people have been helping others for many generations." "Lyria, like another planet?" "Yes, though we prefer the term world. Your planet recently joined what you might call a neighborhood association of different worlds. Some of us came here to provide services." David sat down heavily on his newly spotless couch. "So you're an alien?" "That word sounds unfriendly," Zara said, looking hurt. "I prefer to think of us as neighbors from far away." As the day went on, David found himself watching Zara more and more. There was something fascinating about the way she moved, how she seemed to understand his house better than he did, and how she could fix things that had been broken for months. But it wasn't just her abilities that caught his attention. She was genuinely kind and seemed to really care about making his life better. When evening came, Zara had transformed his entire house. Everything was clean, organized, and somehow felt more peaceful. The air itself seemed fresher, and David felt more relaxed than he had in years. "I will return tomorrow at 9, Zara announced, packing her impossible bag. Wait, David said quickly. Can I ask you something? She nodded. Why do you keep staring at me? I mean, not in a bad way, but you watch me a lot. Zara's cheeks turned a slight pink color. My people learn by observing. I am studying your preferences and energy signature, so I can serve you better. It is normal for us, energy signature. Every living being has a unique energy pattern. The longer I am around you, the better I can understand what you need. She paused. Is this bothering you? No, not at all, David said quickly. I was just curious. After Zara left, David walked through his transformed house, still hardly believing what had happened. His phone worked better, his computer was running like new, and the whole place felt different, calmer and more welcoming. That night, he dreamed of purple eyes and silver hair. When he woke up, he was already looking forward to 9 o'clock. The next morning, Zara arrived exactly on time, and David was waiting for her with better clothes and combed hair. He'd even attempted to make coffee, though it was terrible. You look more energized today, Zara observed with a smile. I slept better than I have in months, David admitted. Whatever you did to this place, it worked. As Zara began her daily routine, David found excuses to be in the same room with her. He pretended to work on his laptop while secretly watching her move around his house like she belonged there. Sometimes he caught her looking at him too, and when their eyes met, she would quickly look away. By the end of the week, David realized his life had completely changed. His work was going better, he felt healthier, and he actually looked forward to getting up each morning. But if he was honest with himself, it wasn't just because of the clean house and good food, it was because of Zara. One evening, as she was preparing to leave, David was in his study working late. He thought Zara had already gone home, but when he looked up from his computer, he saw a soft blue glow coming from his desk. Zara was sitting in front of his computer, her hands hovering over the keyboard. Blue light was flowing from her fingers into the machine, and files were organizing themselves on the screen faster than any human could work. Zara, David said softly. She jumped and spun around, the glow disappearing immediately. I am sorry, I did not mean to intrude. What were you doing? She looked down at her hands. Your computer systems were very disorganized. I was trying to help, but I got carried away. Sometimes when I am around someone for a long time, I start to connect with their environment automatically. Connect how it is difficult to explain. My people form bonds with the places and people we care for. The longer I am here, the more I feel connected to your home and to ... double quotes. She stopped talking. To what? Zara looked up at him with those incredible purple eyes. To you. David couldn't stop thinking about what Zara had said. She felt connected to him. What did that even mean? He spent the whole night wondering if he was reading too much into her words. Maybe it was just a language thing since she wasn't from Earth. The next morning, he was waiting by the door before 9 o'clock, which was definitely not normal for him. Usually he barely rolled out of bed before noon. When Zara arrived, he noticed something different about her immediately. Her silver hair had tiny streaks of gold running through it, so faint he almost missed them. And when she smiled at him, those streaks seemed to shimmer. Good morning, David, she said warmly. You are awake early today. Couldn't sleep much, he admitted. I kept thinking about what you said last night. Zara's cheeks turned pink again. I said too much. Sometimes my people are too honest about our feelings. No, I'm glad you told me, David said quickly. I've been wondering about some weird things that have been happening to me. What kind of things? David led her to his home office where his multiple computer monitors were displaying complex code. Look at this. Yesterday I wrote a program that should have taken me weeks to figure out. I just sat down and somehow knew exactly what to do. It's like my brain got an upgrade. Zara looked at the screens and nodded slowly. This often happens. What often happens? When my people form connections with others, both sides can be affected. You might be gaining some of our abilities while I am learning more about human emotions. David stared at her. You're learning about human emotions? What do you mean? Zara sat down carefully on his desk chair. My people do not experience feelings the same way humans do. We are very logical and calm. But since I have been here with you, I feel things I have never felt before. Like what? Happiness when you smile. Worry when you seem tired. And something else I do not have words for. She looked down at her hands. Yesterday when you worked late, I did not want to leave. I wanted to stay and make sure you were comfortable. David felt his heart beating faster. Zara, are you saying you have feelings for me? I think so, but I am not sure what these feelings mean. My people do not have experience with this type of connection. Before David could respond, his phone started ringing. It was his business partner calling about an important meeting with investors later that day. David had completely forgotten about it. "I have to take this," he said apologetically. While David talked on the phone, Zara began her usual routine around the house, but he noticed she kept glancing at him, and every time she did, those gold streaks in her hair became brighter. After he hung up, David found Zara in the kitchen preparing his breakfast. She had made something that looked like pancakes but smelled incredible. "I have never seen food like this," David said, taking a bite. It was the most delicious thing he'd ever tasted. "It is a traditional food from my world, but I modified it for human taste preferences," Zara explained. "I have been studying what makes you happy." "You've been studying what makes me happy," Zara nodded seriously. "It is important to me that you are content." David felt something warm spreading through his chest. No one had ever cared about his happiness like this before. "Zara, can I ask you something personal?" "Of course. On your world, do your people ever fall in love?" Zara was quiet for a long moment. "We form life bonds, but they are different from what humans call love. They are based on compatibility and mutual benefit. What you call love seems more intense and unpredictable. Have you ever formed one of these life bonds?" "No," Zara said softly. "I was chosen for this assignment because I had no attachments. But now, double quotes, she trailed off. Now what? Now I think I understand why humans write songs about love. It makes you feel like you are flying and drowning at the same time." David nearly choked on his breakfast. "That's actually a pretty good description." That afternoon, David had his investor meeting at his house. He'd decided to work from home so Zara wouldn't have to change her schedule. 3 serious-looking business people arrived, and David led them to his living room. The meeting started. Well, David was presenting his new app idea, and for some reason he felt more confident and articulate than usual. His thoughts were clearer, and he could predict what questions the investors would ask before they asked them. But then one of the investors, a rude man in an expensive suit, started getting aggressive. "This is amateur work," the man said loudly. "You're wasting our time with this garbage." David tried to stay calm, but the investor kept getting nastier, saying David was a failure and would never succeed. David had dealt with difficult people before, but something about this man's energy felt wrong, almost toxic. Suddenly, the room started getting uncomfortably warm. The investor loosened his tie and complained about the heat. Then the lights began flickering and a strange humming sound filled the air. David looked around and saw Zara standing in the doorway to the kitchen. Her eyes were glowing with that purple light, and she was staring at the rude investor with an expression David had never seen before. The man started sweating heavily and kept shifting in his seat like he couldn't get comfortable. "What's wrong with your air conditioning?" he demanded. "It was working fine a minute ago," David replied, though he suspected what was really happening. Within 10 minutes, the rude investor made excuses and left, claiming he had an emergency. The other 2 investors, who had been polite the whole time, continued the meeting normally. The room immediately returned to a comfortable temperature. After everyone left, David found Zara in the kitchen, looking embarrassed. "Did you do something to that guy?" he asked directly. Zara nodded reluctantly. "He was hurting you with his words. I could feel your distress, and I reacted without thinking." "How did you make him so uncomfortable?" "I can influence environmental energy, temperature, electromagnetic fields, air pressure. When someone threatens someone I care about, these abilities become stronger." David leaned against the kitchen counter, processing this information. "Someone you care about?" "Yes," Zara said simply. "I care about you very much, David." They stood looking at each other for a long moment. David could see the gold streaks in her hair getting brighter, and he realized his own heart was racing. "Zara," he said carefully, "what's happening between us?" "I do not know," she admitted. "But I do know that when I am away from you, I feel incomplete, and when I am near you, everything seems more colorful and meaningful." David took a step closer. "To her, I feel the same way. Is this normal for humans?" "No," David said with a small laugh. "This is definitely not normal, but I don't think I want normal anymore." Zara smiled, and for just a moment, her whole body seemed to glow with a soft, warm light. "My people have a saying, when 2 energies harmonize, they create something new and beautiful." "What does that mean?" "I think," Zara said softly, "it means we are becoming something neither of us was before." At night, after Zara left, David couldn't concentrate on work. He kept replaying their conversation and thinking about the way she had protected him during the meeting. No one had ever stood up for him like that before. He was also starting to notice other changes in himself. His reflexes were faster, his thinking was clearer, and he felt more energetic than he had in years. Whatever was happening between them was affecting him in ways he didn't fully understand. But one thing he did understand was that he was falling for an alien woman, and it was the most wonderful and terrifying thing that had ever happened to him. For the next 2 weeks, David and Zara danced around their growing feelings like two teenagers with their first crush. Every morning when she arrived, David found himself smiling before he even opened the door, and every evening when she left, he felt like something important was missing from his house. The changes in both of them were becoming more obvious. Zara's hair now had permanent streaks of gold that seemed to pulse when she was happy. David noticed that his business decisions were getting better and better, like he could somehow predict what his clients wanted before they even knew themselves. One morning, David decided to be brave. When Zara arrived, instead of his usual greeting, he said, "Would you like to have coffee with me before you start working?" Zara looked surprised but pleased. "I would like that very much." They sat together on his back porch, watching the sunrise over the hills. David had never noticed how beautiful the view was from his house until Zara pointed out the way the light hit the trees. "Can I ask you about your world?" David said, sipping his coffee. "What would you like to know? What's it like? Is it similar to Earth?" Zara smiled, and her eyes got a distant look. "Lyria has 3 suns, so our days are always bright. The cities are built into crystal formations that grow from the ground, and everything is very organized and peaceful. It sounds beautiful. Do you miss it?" "I thought I would," Zara said quietly, "but I find myself thinking about it less and less. This place feels more like home now because of the job." Zara looked directly at him. "Because of you." David felt his heart skip a beat. "Zara, I need to tell you something." "What is it?" "I've never felt this way about anyone before. I know we're from different worlds, literally, but I can't stop thinking about you." Zara set down her cup and turned to face him completely. "David, there is something you should know about my people. When we form deep connections, it is not just emotionally, it becomes physical and spiritual as well." "What do you mean?" "I mean that what is happening between us is changing both of us on a level deeper than feelings. We are becoming bonded." David felt a strange tingling sensation when she said the word bonded. "Is that bad?" "I do not know," Zara admitted. "No one from my world has ever bonded with a human before. I am not sure what will happen to us." Before David could respond, they both felt it at the same time. A warm, electric feeling passed between them like a gentle current of energy. David gasped and Zara's eyes widened. "Did you feel that?" David whispered. "Yes, it is getting stronger." Without really thinking about it, David reached out and took her hand. The moment their skin touched, the world seemed to light up around them. David could suddenly sense Zara's emotions as clearly as his own, her wonder, her affection, and, underneath it all, her fear that this beautiful thing between them might not be allowed to continue. Zara gasped and pulled her hand back. "This is happening faster than it should. Is it dangerous?" "Not dangerous, but intense. Bonding usually takes months or years for my people. With you, it is happening in weeks." That afternoon, while Zara worked around the house, David found himself watching her more openly. He no longer pretended to be busy when she was in the same room. She seemed to be doing the same thing whenever he looked up. Her purple eyes were on him. Around 3 o'clock, while David was trying to focus on coding, Zara appeared in his office doorway. "David, I need to show you something," she said seriously. "What is it? Please give me your hand." David hesitated for only a second before reaching out to her. This time, when they touched, he was ready for the electric feeling. But what happened next was completely unexpected. Images flashed through his mind, not his own memories, but Zara's. He saw her crystal city on Lyria, her childhood learning about energy work, and her nervousness when she first came to Earth. But most clearly, he saw her memories of their time together, and he could feel how she experienced every moment. When the connection faded, they were both breathing hard. "Was that real?" David asked. "Very real. We shared memories. This level of bonding usually only happens between life partners. Among my people, life partners, the closest human word would be soulmates. To people who are meant to be together forever." David stared at her, trying to process what she was telling him. "Are you saying we're soulmates?" "I am saying that is what our bonding suggests." "But David, there is something else you need to know." The serious tone in her voice made David nervous. "What?" "My people will not approve of this. Bonding with humans is not forbidden exactly, but it has never happened before. The council that governs my people believes we should only bond with other Lyrians. What happens if they find out?" Zara looked worried. "They will want to separate There are ways to break a bonding, but it is painful and can cause permanent damage to both people involved. David felt a chill run through him. How would they find out? All Lyrians report to the council regularly. I have been avoiding my scheduled check-ins, but they will notice soon. How soon? Maybe a week, maybe less. David stood up and started pacing around his office. So what do we do? I do not know. I have never been in this situation before. Well, I'm not giving up without a fight, David said firmly. There has to be something we can do. Zara looked at him with such affection that her whole body seemed to glow softly. You would fight for us. Of course I would. Zara, what we have is special. I can feel it every time we're together. I'm not letting some council take that away. But you do not understand how powerful they are. The council has abilities far beyond mine. Then we'll figure out how to deal with that when the time comes. Zara walked over to him and placed her hand on his chest. David could feel warmth spreading from her touch throughout his whole body. There is something else, she said softly. The bonding process is not complete yet. If we choose to finish it, there will be no going back. We will be connected for life, and if we don't finish it, the partial bonding will fade over time, and we will both return to how we were before. David looked into her purple eyes, seeing his own reflection there. What do you want to do? I want to complete the bonding, Zara said without hesitation. But I am afraid of what it will mean for you. If the council forces us apart after we are fully bonded, it could hurt you badly. I'm willing to take that risk, David. You do not understand. It could kill you. The weight of her words hit him hard. He was quiet for a long moment, thinking about everything she had told him. Zara, can I ask you something? Anything. If we complete this bonding, will you be happy? Happier than I have ever been? Then that's all I need to know. Zara's eyes filled with tears, something David had never seen before. Are you certain? I've never been more certain of anything in my life. That evening, as the sun set behind the hills, David and Zara sat together on his porch again. But this time, they were holding hands, letting the energy flow freely between them. When will they come? David asked. Soon. I can feel them reaching out through space, looking for me. Are you scared? Terrified? Zara admitted, but also excited. Whatever happens, we will face it together. As if summoned by her words, a bright light appeared in the sky above them. It was small at first, but growing larger by the second. They're here, Zara whispered. David squeezed her hand tighter. Then let's give them something to really worry about. The light in the sky grew bigger and brighter until it was impossible to ignore. David felt Zara's hand trembling in his as a massive ship appeared above his house. It was unlike anything he'd ever seen in movies, smooth and crystalline, with a soft blue glow that pulsed like a heartbeat. How big is that thing? David whispered. Big enough to carry the entire High Council, Zara replied, her voice tight with worry. The ship landed silently in David's backyard, somehow fitting in a space that should have been too small for it. 3 figures emerged from an opening that appeared in the ship's side. They were tall and imposing, with completely silver hair and cold purple eyes that seemed to look right through David. The one in the center, clearly the leader, wore flowing robes that seemed to shimmer with their own light. When she spoke, her voice carried an authority that made David's bones vibrate. Zara of the Crystal Gardens, the leader said formally, you have missed 3 scheduled reports. The council demands an explanation. Zara stood up slowly, still holding David's hand. Elder Thesa, I have been fulfilling my duties here on Earth, have you? Elder Thesa's eyes moved to David with obvious disapproval. We sense foreign energy patterns around you. You have been contaminated by prolonged exposure to this human. I have not been contaminated, Zara said firmly. I have been learning. Learning? What, exactly? David felt Zara squeeze his hand tighter. I have been learning about connection. About what it means to truly care for someone. The other 2 council members exchanged glances. One of them, a stern-looking man, stepped forward. Zara, you have been assigned to provide domestic services, not to form inappropriate attachments. Inappropriate? David found himself speaking before he could stop himself. What's inappropriate about caring about someone? Elder Thesa turned her cold gaze on him. Human, you will not speak unless addressed directly. Actually, David said, standing up and facing the intimidating aliens, this is my house and my planet. I'll speak when I want to. Zara looked at him with a mixture of admiration and terror. David, please be careful. Careful. David laughed, though he didn't feel particularly brave. 3 aliens just landed in my backyard to tell me I can't have feelings for someone I care about. I think careful went out the window about 5 minutes ago. Elder Thesa studied him with those piercing eyes. You believe you care for Zara, I don't believe it. I know it, and you understand that she is not of your species. I understand that she's kind, intelligent, and makes me happier than I've ever been in my life. Her species doesn't matter to me. The third council member, a woman with an even colder expression than the others, stepped forward. Zara, you will return with us immediately for purification. The contamination can be reversed if we act quickly. No, Zara said quietly but firmly. No. Elder Thessa looked genuinely shocked. I will not return for purification. What David and I have is not contamination, it is bonding. All three council members reacted as if Zara had slapped them. The stern man actually took a step backward. Bonding, he gasped, with a human that is impossible. Clearly it is not impossible, Zara replied, since it is happening. Elder Thessa's eyes began to glow with an inner light that made David's skin crawl. If you have truly begun bonding with this human, then the situation is more serious than we thought. You will come with us now, and we will sever the connection immediately. And if I refuse, then you will be declared exile, and the human will be eliminated as a threat to our people. David felt his blood run cold. Eliminated. They mean killed, Zara said softly. David, I am so sorry. I never meant for this to happen. Don't apologize, David said, though his voice was shaking. This isn't your fault. Elder Thessa raised her hand, and David felt a pressure building in his head, like the worst headache he'd ever had. We will begin severing the connection now. Stop. Zara stepped in front of David, her own eyes beginning to glow. You cannot break our bond by force. It is too strong now. Nothing is too strong for the council, the stern man said coldly. When Elder Thessa tried to continue whatever she was doing to David's mind, something unexpected happened. Instead of the connection between him and Zara getting weaker, it got stronger. Much stronger. David suddenly felt Zara's power flowing through him, and his own enhanced abilities kicked in at a level he'd never experienced before. He could see the energy patterns around all three council members, and he realized something important. You're afraid, he said suddenly. What? Elder Thessa looked confused. You're not here because what we're doing is wrong. You're here because you're afraid of what it means. Humans do not lecture the council, the cold woman snapped. But I'm not just human anymore, am I? David looked at his hands and saw them glowing with the same soft light as Zara's. This bonding thing works both ways. She's becoming more human, and I'm becoming more like her. Zara stared at him in amazement. David, how are you doing that? I don't know, but it feels right. Elder Thessa's expression had changed from cold authority to something closer to panic. This is unprecedented. The bonding should not be possible at this level. Maybe your understanding of bonding is limited, David suggested. Maybe there are things about connection and love that you don't know. Love. The stern man practically spit the word. Love is a human weakness. Is it? Zara asked, stepping closer to David. Because since I learned to love, I have become stronger, more capable, and happier than I ever was before. David felt a surge of warmth and power as Zara moved closer to him. Their combined energy was creating a field around them that the council members seemed unable to penetrate. Zara, Elder Thessa said, her voice less commanding now. You must listen to reason. This path leads to chaos. This path leads to growth. Zara replied. To becoming more than we were before. You are defying thousands of years of tradition. Maybe it's time for tradition to change. The council members looked at each other uncertainly. David could sense their confusion and fear through the energy field he and Zara were creating. We will give you one final chance, Elder Thessa said. Come with us now, willingly, and we will find a way to separate you that causes minimal damage. And if we refuse, David asked, then we will be forced to take more drastic measures. Zara looked at David, and he could feel her love and determination through their connection. David, they can make our lives very difficult if we refuse. Can they make us stop loving each other? No, Zara said with certainty. That is beyond their power. Then let them try their worst. Elder Thessa raised both hands, and all three council members began to glow with threatening energy. So be it. We will end this abomination here and now. But as they prepared to attack, David felt something amazing happen. The bond between him and Zara suddenly completed itself, snapping into place like a puzzle piece, finding its perfect fit. The energy around them exploded outward in a wave of golden light that sent all three council members staggering backward. Impossible, Elder Thessa gasped. The bonding is complete and stronger than anything we have ever seen. The stern man added, looking genuinely frightened for the first time. David felt incredible. Every cell in his body was alive with energy, and he could sense Zara's thoughts and feelings as clearly as his own. More than that, he could feel her strength adding to his own. What happens now? He asked the council. Elder Thesa looked at them both with a mixture of awe and fear. Now we must decide whether you represent evolution or destruction. That's easy, David said, pulling Zara closer to him. We represent love, and love always wins in the end. The golden light surrounding David and Zara pulsed stronger with each heartbeat. Elder Thesa and the other council members stood frozen, clearly unsure what to do next. David had never felt so powerful or so connected to another person in his life. This changes everything, the stern councilman whispered to Elder Thesa. What do you mean? David asked, surprised that he could hear their quiet conversation from 20 feet away. Elder Thesa looked at him with new respect mixed with concern. Your bonding has reached a level we have only read about in ancient texts. Such connections were thought to be myths. Well, surprise, David said with more confidence than he felt. Turns out your myths are real. Zara squeezed his hand and he felt her amusement through their connection. David, they are trying to decide if we are dangerous. Are we dangerous? He asked her quietly, only to their old way of thinking. Elder Thesa stepped closer, but not threateningly this time. May I ask you both something? Go ahead, Zara replied. Do you feel any desire to harm others? Any urge to use your combined power for selfish purposes? David thought about it honestly. No. If anything, I feel more connected to everyone and everything around me. Like I want to help make things better. And you, Zara, I feel the same. The bonding has not made me less caring, it has made me more so. The cold woman council member spoke up. But how do we know this will not change? Power corrupts, even among our people. Because Zara said simply, our power comes from love, not from control. Love does not seek to harm others. Elder Thesa walked slowly around them, studying the energy field they were creating. The ancient texts speak of bondings like this. They called them bridge connections, bonds that could link different species and create new possibilities. New possibilities? David asked. Yes. The texts suggest that such connections could help different worlds understand each other better, but they were considered too dangerous to attempt. Dangerous how? The stern man answered, because if they went wrong, they could destroy both people involved and anyone near them. But we're not destroyed, David pointed out. We're better than we ever were. For now, Elder Thesa said carefully, but bridge connections are unstable. They require constant balance and understanding between the bonded pair. Zara looked worried. Are you saying our connection could become dangerous? I am saying it could, if you let negative emotions like anger or fear take control. David felt a chill run through him. So we have to be perfect. Not perfect, Elder Thesa said, her expression softening slightly, but conscious, aware of your emotions and committed to maintaining harmony between yourselves. We can do that, Zara said confidently. Can you? The cold woman challenged. What happens when you disagree about something important? What happens when one of you is hurt or angry? David looked at Zara, and through their connection, he could feel her determination matching his own. Then we'll work through it together. That's what people who love each other do. Humans who love each other. The stern man corrected. This is different. Is it really? David asked. Because, from where I'm standing, love is love. It doesn't matter what planet you're from. Elder Thesa was quiet for a long moment, clearly thinking hard about something. Finally, she spoke. There is something you should know about why we were so opposed to this bonding, what our people are dying out. For the past 1,000 years, fewer and fewer Lyrians have been able to form successful bonds with each other. We have become too similar, too predictable. We were afraid that bonding with other species would weaken us further. But what if it's the opposite? Zara asked suddenly. What if bonding with other species is exactly what we need to grow stronger? David felt excitement building through their connection. You mean like how biodiversity makes ecosystems stronger? Exactly, Zara said, her eyes lighting up. Maybe isolation is what has been weakening our people, not protecting them. Elder Thesa looked startled. That is not a possibility we had considered. Maybe you should consider it, David suggested, because I can tell you that bonding with Zara hasn't made me weaker. It's made me more than I ever thought I could be. The 3 council members stepped aside and began speaking in their own language. David was surprised to find that he could understand some of what they were saying. They're debating whether to report this to the full council, he told Zara quietly. Can you understand them? Some of it. The bonding must have given me some of your language abilities. After several minutes, Elder Thesa returned to them. We have decided to make you an offer. What kind of offer? Zara asked suspiciously. Return with us to Lyria, both of you, and help us study this bonding. If it proves beneficial and stable, we will consider changing our policies about interspecies connections. David and Zara looked at each other. Through their bond, they could share thoughts almost instantly. What do you think? David asked her silently. It could be good for both our peoples. She replied the same way. But are you willing to leave Earth for you, for us, yes. And I am willing to share my world with you. They turned back to Elder Theasa. We accept, David said, but with conditions. The stern man frowned. You are not in a position to make demands. Actually, we are, Zara said calmly. You need us more than we need you. We could stay here and be happy, but you came to us because you're worried about your people's future. Elder Theasa nodded slowly. What are your conditions? First, we're not lab rats, David said. We'll share what we learn about our bonding, but we won't be experimented on. Second, Zara added, if other Lyrians want to try bonding with humans or other species, they should be allowed to make that choice. And third, David finished, we want to set up an exchange program, humans and Lyrians working together to learn from each other. The council members looked at each other uncertainly. These are significant changes you are requesting, Elder Theasa said. These are significant problems you're facing, David replied. Sometimes big problems need big solutions. Elder Theasa was quiet for a long time. Finally, she smiled, the first warm expression David had seen from any of the council members. Very well, we accept your conditions, but I warn you, there will be many on both worlds who oppose these changes. There always are, Zara said. But change happens anyway, one connection at a time. Then let us begin this new chapter together. 6 months later, David stood on the observation deck of the Lyrian research station, looking out at the 3 suns of Zara's world. The crystal cities were even more beautiful than she had described, and the Lyrians he had met were slowly warming up to the idea of having humans among them. Zara joined him at the window, her hair now a perfect blend of silver and gold that sparkled in the triple sunlight. Any regret? She asked, slipping her hand into his. Only that we didn't meet sooner, David replied, feeling their bond pulse with shared contentment. The first human Lyrian baby is due next month, Zara said, placing her other hand on her barely visible belly. Are you nervous? Excited, she corrected. Our child will be proof that different worlds can create something beautiful together. Below them, they could see human and Lyrian scientists working side by side in the research gardens, developing new technologies that neither species could have created alone. Elder Theasa says 5 more interspecies bondings have formed since we arrived, David said. And the Earth Council approved the exchange program expansion. David pulled Zara closer to him, marveling as he did every day at how perfectly they fit together. You know what the best part is? What we're not just bridging two worlds anymore. We're building something completely new. As if responding to his words, their combined energy field flickered around them in warm, golden light. In the distance, other bonded pairs could be seen, creating their own beautiful patterns of light and color. I love you, David said simply. I love you too, Zara replied. Across all the stars and all the worlds. And in that moment, surrounded by the light of 3 suns and the glow of their eternal bond, David knew that some connections are strong enough to change the universe itself.